Okay, hi, my name is Donna. I'm one of the care team nurses at Peak Vista Women's Clinic here with Peak Vista. I am also a lactation consultant, so we're going to learn about understanding breastfeeding. The topics that we're going to present today is how breastfeeding works, how to breastfeed, when to feed your baby, getting enough milk, breast care, and breastfeeding lifestyle. Throughout the video, I'll be referring you to video clips that will be provided to show a more animated version of the topics that we present. How breastfeeding works. So for babies, it really is important to breastfeed. It boosts their immune system. It enhances their brain development. It reduces risk of diabetes and SIDS. It can also help with GI concerns, decrease in diarrhea, decrease in constipation. For the mothers, it reduces the risk of cancers such as ovarian cancer, and for diseases, it helps reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. It helps calm and connect with the baby. There are many hormones that are involved with breastfeeding that helps that mother control her pain right after delivery and connect with the baby in a calming, decreasing stress. It also can help you lose your post-pregnancy weight.
As a mom, to be able to feed my baby, it's amazing. You know, just to know that she's getting everything she needs from me is pretty cool.
Your breast milk is so nutritious and protective that it can lead to better health for you and your baby. Babies who are breastfed have fewer ear infections and colds, less diarrhea and constipation, and are less likely to develop conditions like obesity and diabetes than formula-fed babies. They are also at a lower risk of sudden infant death syndrome. Breastfeeding is important for mothers too.
Are you really hungry?
The longer a woman breastfeeds, the more protection she has against developing heart disease and type 2 diabetes, as well as ovarian and breast cancer. Plus, breastfeeding moms usually lose their pregnancy weight faster. And don't forget the strong emotional bond that comes with the close contact you get from breastfeeding your baby.
There you go.
You'll learn that breastfeeding creates this amazing, special connection between you and your baby. Basically, you're a superhero while you're breastfeeding. Baby has a cold, breastfeeding makes it better. Baby has an owie, breastfeeding makes it better. Baby misses you or is lonely, breastfeeding. Baby's tired but can't quite settle, breastfeeding is the answer.
The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that for about the first 6 months of your baby's life, you feed them only breast milk and nothing else. No formula, water, juice, or solid foods, including rice cereal. They also recommend that you continue to breastfeed for at least 12 months, even after your baby starts eating solids, and as long as you both would like after that. While any amount of breast milk is better than none, the longer you breastfeed, the more benefits for you and your baby. With time, practice, and the support of those around you, breastfeeding will become easier and feel more natural.
My goal is to breastfeed for the whole year. I never knew that, during this time of me doing, something for him, that I was gonna feel so proud of myself, actually. So it's something that's really been, good for both of us.
How your body makes milk. So your body produces milk. In the beginning, there's 3 different kinds of milk that will produce, and we will see that in the next couple of slides. The more the baby takes off the milk, the more milk that you produce. So babies will go through growth spurts, and by this I mean they'll cluster feed. They're going to want to take more milk off the breast. Your breast will compensate by making more milk. So if at any point in time during the breastfeeding process, if you feel like you're not making enough milk, keep that little nugget in the back of your mind, because it could be the baby's just going through a growth spurt. This is an example. The baby, like we talked about, the baby takes the milk, the breast makes more milk.
Breastfeeding really is amazing. Late in pregnancy, your breasts make small amounts of a thick, very nutritious milk called colostrum. This special milk is all your baby needs and is easy to digest, making it the perfect first food for your newborn. In the first few days after birth, colostrum changes to mature milk. You may also hear it referred to as your milk coming in. This mature milk is more plentiful and helps your baby grow and develop. Let's take a closer look at how your body creates this perfect food for your baby. Inside a woman's breasts are milk-making glands called alveoli. This is where your milk is made and stored. When your baby latches onto your breast and starts to suck, your brain sends hormones to the alveoli. Prolactin tells the alveoli to make milk, and oxytocin tells the alveoli to release milk. This release of milk is called the letdown reflex. During letdown, you may feel a tingling sensation, or nothing at all. Once the alveoli release the milk, it travels through the milk ducts to your nipple. The milk comes out of the nipple openings into your baby's mouth. The more milk your baby takes from your breasts, the more milk your breasts will make to replace that milk. Your body naturally responds to your baby's needs.
These are the different kinds of milk that are produced by the breast in the first week of post-delivery. The colostrum is the very watery kind of milk that comes out. You probably are getting it at the end of your pregnancy. It's very high in antibodies. Any antibodies that you have had, like for a cold or for the Tdap, will come across in this breast milk. Very little amount. The baby's stomach is very small, and so you make the right amount for the baby. Then the milk will transition on day 2 to 3 of the transitional milk. This is where there's still colostrum, but the more mature milk is coming in. Then by day 3 to 5, generally, the milk comes to mature milk. The mature milk is what will grow the baby. And there's 2 kinds of mature milk. There's the fore milk, which is more watery, has the same nutritional value, but then there's the hind milk, and that comes towards the end of a feeding. And that's the milk that's high in fat, and that's the milk that will grow the baby. There are special situations after you deliver. If you have a preterm baby, your breast will make the milk that that preterm baby needs. If you have twins, you can certainly breastfeed because each breast will make the amount of milk those twins will need. If you have surgery and you're taking some medications, make sure that you're telling the provider that you're breastfeeding so you have the correct medication. And then if you are have an overproduction of milk, or you would like to donate milk, there's the Mother's Milk Bank in Denver, and we at Peak Vista Women's can give you information on that. How to breastfeed. Well, one of the first things you need to do when you were thinking about breastfeeding is gather support around you. Make sure the healthcare provider that you're going to supports a breastfeeding mom. You can have a doula. This is a woman who will go with you throughout the pregnancy and also at delivery to help support you. Ask how breastfeeding and delivery, how that impacts that from your provider. You should have family that are supporting your journey to breastfeed, and making sure you're doing skin to skin right after delivery.
Even before your baby is born, there are a few things you can do to help get breastfeeding off to a good start. When you arrive at the hospital, let the staff know that you will be breastfeeding. Tell them that you don't want pacifiers, formula, or sugar water given to your baby unless it's medically necessary. These can cause problems with breastfeeding. Also, let them know that you want your baby put directly on your chest, skin to skin, right after birth and until the first feeding. Skin-to-skin contact is recommended because it helps your baby breastfeed better and for a longer period of time. You and your baby will also benefit from continuing skin-to-skin care as much as possible in the first few weeks.
Like just having that warmth on my chest and having her on my chest was really It was a really good feeling. She was just doing those hunger signs. She was like moving her head everywhere, just trying to look for something. The nurses definitely did help me a lot, and they just, grabbed her, grabbed me, and she latched on right away.
Another way to get breastfeeding off to the best start is to room in with your baby. Keeping your baby in the same room as you during your entire stay at the hospital allows you to hold her skin to skin and respond to her feeding cues quickly. On the second night, you may notice that your baby is fussier and seems to want to feed more often. Babies do this mainly for comfort, and it's normal and temporary. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that healthy, full-term babies avoid pacifiers until breastfeeding is going well and your milk production is established. At that point, consider offering him a pacifier at nap or bedtime to help reduce the risk of sudden infant death syndrome.
The first moment realizing that I can breastfeed was kind of pretty exciting. And when I say exciting, it's all because of the doctors and nurses saying, she needs this. This is what's going to help her. It's going to help her grow.
If your baby was born early or with a medical condition or can't breastfeed right away, your breast milk is still the best food for her. Start pumping your milk or removing it by hand as soon as possible after delivery to protect your milk supply. Ask your nurse or lactation consultant to help.
Here, and now try pushing back and squeezing. There you go. You're doing amazing.
This milk can be provided to your baby in various ways until she is able to feed at your breast.
Benefits to the skin-to-skin that I just talked about is that it helps that baby transition from being in a nice, warm, watery environment to out in the air. It likes to hear your heartbeat. That's what's very comforting to them. The skin-to-skin can be with you or it can be with dad. It helps regulate their temperatures, regulate their breathing, and it also helps you, mom, when you put that baby skin-to-skin to start releasing those hormones.
Holding your baby skin to skin with no clothing or sheets between you gets breastfeeding off to a great start.
Yeah, we wanted to do the skin to skin because I've read a lot about how good it is for baby, but it's just a really good bonding moment for her to just come right out and be with you right away.
Skin to skin contact triggers the hormones that support breastfeeding. It also helps babies latch on and breastfeed sooner, which leads to a healthy milk supply. Skin to skin keeps your baby warm and comfortable and helps him adjust to life outside the womb, so he tends to cry less and is less stressed. It may even impact his future brain and emotional development. If you have a cesarean birth, ask to have your baby put skin to skin with you as soon as possible, either on your or your partner's chest or held cheek to cheek with you. When you hold your baby skin to skin, lie back and relax with her close to your breast. She may move to latch on by herself, or you can help her.
These are the different positions for breastfeeding. The football hold is the one in the upper left on your screen. It was really good for a mom that might have had a C-section because her belly's tender, and so it takes the baby off of your belly and onto your to the side so that you can breastfeed. There's also the cross cradle, the laid back position. That's really good for a mom, again, in a C-section where you want to take the pressure off your belly, and then the sideline, great for at night.
There are many breastfeeding positions for moms and babies. The main thing is to relax and be as comfortable as possible. Over time, you'll find what works best for you and your baby. Just remember that any position should include these basics. Hold her tummy to tummy with her nose across from your nipple. Support her whole body, not just her head. And be sure her body is in a line, not twisting or turning. In a laid-back position, you recline comfortably at about a 45-degree angle. Place your baby across your stomach with her cheek near or on your breast so she can find your nipple and latch on. Use pillows to keep you comfortable. If needed, support your baby's head with your arm and her feet against your thigh, your arm, or the bed. If you had a cesarean, you can position her in a way that avoids your incision. The cross-cradle position is also helpful for new moms and babies. Lean back a little and use a pillow or a stool if it makes you feel more comfortable. Support her upper back and shoulders with your hand, keeping your fingers low behind her ears. If it helps, you can hold your breast with your other hand. With the football position, hold your baby close in along the side of your body. Use pillows to support your body as needed. This position lets you clearly see how your baby is latching on. This hold can be useful if you have twins, a premature baby, a cesarean birth, or large breasts. In the side-lying position, you and your baby lie on your sides, tummy to tummy. It may take a couple of tries, but once you learn how, this position is great for resting and nursing. Remember to keep all loose blankets and pillows away from the baby. Finally, when your baby has more neck strength, you can use the cradle hold, which supports your baby's head in the crook of your arm. Over time, you'll find your favorite positions, and so will she. Just remember to be as relaxed as possible and hold your baby close into your body so she can get a deep, effective latch.
Pretty girl.
I think for one at a time, I really found cross cradle to be comfortable, and then we kind of evolved to I'll have one in a cross cradle and one in a football, laying on top of the other.
So when you get ready to latch the baby on, get a comfortable position. You can have the boppies, you can do pillows, a nice comfy chair that supports your back and your arms. You're going to hold the baby close, tummy to tummy, because we want to make sure the baby's coming at the breast straight on. You hold your breast behind the areola. When you're first breastfeeding, the baby doesn't have a good latch sometimes, so it's really important to hold that breast so that baby can get that latch and stay close so you don't get sore nipples. Align your baby's nose with your nipple and gently tickle the upper lip. When your baby's mouth opens wide, you pull him up and over and quickly in. There's a video clip here which would be great for you to watch on how to latch that baby.
The most important part of breastfeeding is knowing that your baby has a deep, effective latch. An effective latch allows your baby to get more milk and you to be more comfortable. Many babies latch on easily when mom is leaning back and relaxed with her baby on her torso, sometimes called a baby-led latch.
And then you can take away this hand and you can support his head and your breast with this arm and shoulder.
When you're leading your baby to latch, lean back slightly so you are relaxed and comfortable. Hold your baby close into your body with her tummy facing yours. Place your baby so her nose is right across from your nipple. Keep your hand behind the areola, the dark area around your nipple. You can interest her with a drop of expressed milk. Tickle her upper lip. When she opens her mouth wide like a yawn, pull her in quick and close. Look for the signs of a deep latch when you breastfeed. Your baby's mouth is open wide, her lips are flared outward, and her chin is pressed into the breast. You should be able to see more areola above her mouth than below. Your baby's ear and jaw should move when she sucks. You'll feel a pulling or tugging that's not painful. And you may be able to see and hear her swallowing. With a shallow latch, only the nipple or a small amount of the breast is in the baby's mouth. You may feel biting and pinching, nipple pain, and you may hear clicking or smacking sounds.
And then when she opens up her mouth wide, then you can just bring her in nice and quick.
In the early days, it may take some time and practice for your baby to latch on correctly. If your baby has a shallow latch, you'll need to re-latch. Break the suction gently to protect your nipples by pushing in on your baby's cheek or inserting a clean finger in the side of her mouth. Be patient with yourself and your baby. The more she breastfeeds, the better she'll get at latching on. If you have problems breastfeeding, talk to your nurse or a lactation consultant. They can help find the cause and a solution.
Relax your shoulder.
This is an example of a deep latch and a shallow latch. From the video clip that you saw before, you'll see the picture on the left shows that nipple is way into the mouth, and the picture on the right shows that the baby just has a little bit. That will cause you to have sore nipples. So it's very important to try to work on getting that good latch and a correct latch when you're first breastfeeding. Lactation consultants can help in the hospital.
This animation shows what a deep, effective latch looks like. With his mouth open wide, the baby comes to the breast chin first, with his head tilted back. He latches on so that the nipple is drawn far inside his mouth all the way to the soft palate, which is very flexible. Here, your nipple can expand and the milk can flow without causing pain. With his tongue above his lower lip and under the breast, he sucks quickly, which helps trigger the letdown reflex. When the milk starts flowing, his sucking becomes deeper and stronger. He settles into a rhythm of suck and swallow. A deep, effective latch allows your baby to receive more milk and you to be more comfortable. With a shallow latch, however, the nipple is not far enough inside the baby's mouth. When it only reaches the hard palate in the front of baby's mouth, the nipple gets pinched. This can damage the nipple and result in your baby getting less milk.
This is an effective latch. The mouth is open wide, the lips are flanged, large amounts of breast is in the mouth, more areola is above the baby's lip than below, the ear and jaw are moving, active sucking and swallow can be heard, and you feel a strong tug. That's not painful, but you feel that tug that the baby's getting the milk. An ineffective latch, this is a great example, shows that that baby just has the nipple. And what happens is the baby needs to have that areola to sort of bring out that milk from the breast tissue. The mouth is not open wide, small amount of milk is coming into the baby's mouth. The lips are curled in. The clicking, smacking sounds like the baby's chewing on the nipple rather than sucking. You feel pain. Your breast does not soften after a feeding, and the nipple looks pinched, sort of like a lipstick. Here's another good example of a deep latch and a shallow latch. A typical feeding for a baby, you offer both breasts. You try one. If that's not good, try a different position. Sometimes women have different density on their breasts, so you might feed in the football hold on one breast and the cross cradle on the other. It's what your baby is doing and what's comfortable for you. You burp between the breastfeedings. You alternate side for each feeding, so if the baby only fed on one side, the next feeding make sure you feed on the opposite side. And the feedings should take less time as the baby gets more efficient and grows as to taking off the breast milk.
Once you are comfortable and your baby has a good latch, feed her for as long as she is actively sucking. When she releases the breast or her sucking slows down, try to burp her. Keep in mind that breastfed babies don't always need to burp, especially in the first few days. Then, offer her the second breast. She may take it if she's still hungry. At every feeding, switch the side that you start on to make sure each breast is getting the same amount of stimulation. In the first weeks, feedings take a lot of time, but usually become shorter as your baby gets better at breastfeeding.
Between 5 and 45 minutes is normal for a newborn, but as the baby gets better at nursing and baby gets more efficient, that time will decrease.
I think I was surprised how much time it takes by the time you get settled, and then he wouldn't latch on right away, and you finally get him on, and then you burp him and then you switch sides and he won't latch on that side either and he cries. But then I was surprised over time how much I liked it. It's just really a good bonding time. It kind of gives you some quiet cuddle moments. 6 months or a year in, when you're much better at it, it's enjoyable and relaxing, and it feels good to know that you're giving your baby what they need.
So what we do is we encourage moms to feed what the baby wants to feed. So you feed the baby whenever the baby's showing hunger cues. You should feed your baby about 8 to 12 times in a 24-hour period. Let your baby stay on the breast as long as they like and are actively sucking and swallowing. And they may cluster feed, what I talked about before, when they're going through a growth spurt. Infant feeding cues. This is really important for you to be, when you're first having the baby, to really look at those cues. The baby will tell you when they're just kind of fussy, maybe wants a diaper change, or is a little cool or hot. But when that baby's actively alert, making smacking sounds with their lips, starts bringing their hands up to their mouth and looking for something to suck, if grandma or dad is holding the baby and that baby's turning its head towards the chest, those are all signs that that baby is ready to feed. And this is when you start preparing to get in a comfortable position, have dad bring you some water or food, and start to breastfeed your baby.
It's important to try to breastfeed baby at the earliest signs of hunger. Baby is so much more patient when they're not that starving, and you can get a much better latch. But when baby is fussy and crying, it can be a lot more difficult.
Keep your baby near you day and night so you can feed her as soon as you notice her feeding cues. These are movements and sounds she makes when she's ready to be fed. An early feeding cue is fidgeting. She's probably going to be ready for her next meal soon. Another early cue is the rooting reflex when she moves her head back and forth, looking for a breast. You might also see her make sucking motions with her tongue and mouth, or bring her hand to her mouth. As he gets hungrier, he will move his arms and legs as he becomes more agitated. Finally, a hungry baby will start to cry. It can be hard for a crying baby to latch, so try to feed your baby when you see her early feeding cues. You can also pay attention to your own body to know when it's time to feed your baby. When your breasts feel full, it's probably time to nurse.
This is a great picture of how big the baby's tummy is. And there's a video clip that you can click on to watch. Day 1, just the size of a grape. That's why that colostrum is just enough for the baby. By day 3, it's more size of a cherry tomato because you're producing more milk, so the stomach is stretching. Day 7 is strawberry, size of a strawberry. And by 1 month old, about 80 to 150 mLs. That baby's now drinking ounces. Sleepy eaters. Babies sometimes go through where they're very sleepy and very hard to wake up. The best thing you can do is offer that breast. If it's been at least 3 hours since the baby has nursed, do some skin to skin to try to wake that baby up. You can rub their hands, rub their feet, rub their head to try to get them to wake up. There's a video clip here about feeding patterns for your newborn.
Breastfeeding is based on your baby's needs. That means there is no set schedule. Just feed them when they're hungry, day or night. In the early weeks, that should be about 8 to 12 feedings in each 24-hour period, including nighttime.
My baby was like waking up every hour, so I was like, what is wrong with my baby? Maybe she's not getting enough milk. Maybe I don't have milk. I'm not producing milk. So I called my nurse and she told me that it was completely fine.
It's natural that your newborn needs to eat often in the beginning. This is because her stomach is small and designed to take in very small amounts of milk at each feeding. On day 1, her stomach is about the size of a grape. By day 3, her stomach is close to the size of a cherry tomato. On day 7, her stomach is about the size of a strawberry. And by the first month, her stomach is close to the size of a lime. As your baby's stomach grows, she'll take in more breast milk at each feeding.
Wake the baby up before feeding is very important. If you try to feed and you're sleeping, nothing goes in. So it's very important to hold them, like I said, skin to skin, stroke them. There's also another video clip for you to watch.
During the first few days, some babies sleep a lot and are not very interested in eating. If your newborn is not feeding at least 8 times in 24 hours, you'll need to wake her up to eat. Help her wake up by holding her skin to skin, changing her diaper, trying a different feeding position, or switching breasts. Remember, your milk supply depends on how often and how well your baby breastfeeds. Your baby will need to feed at least once or twice at night. If you think you might fall asleep while feeding, don't feed him on a sofa or armchair. These are unsafe environments. It's safer to bring your baby into bed with you for a feeding. Keep the area free of blankets, pillows, and sheets in case you fall asleep. After you feed your baby, return him to his separate sleeping area. It's normal for a baby to cluster feed.
Wow, she's really feeding a lot, huh?
This is when she has several feedings in a short period of time and then takes a longer break before nursing again. Cluster feedings are healthy as long as she's eating at least 8 times in 24 hours.
Last night, she was nursing frequently, and I was a little concerned that I was going to run out of milk because she just kept, eating and eating. But I did read that your body will produce enough milk, and if you just keep feeding the baby will initiate supply.
Feeding your baby more often on some days is a normal part of building a healthy milk supply. Don't worry, this frequent feeding usually lasts only a few days.
How do you know if your baby's getting enough milk? That's a really important question, and that's one of the most important questions that people ask me. It's kind of faith-based. You know you have milk, and so you have to go by other signs. You have to go by, are they pooping and peeing? Am I hearing swallowings? Are the baby's hands now relaxed, and are they falling asleep at the breast? Is the baby growing? It's important to go to your well baby checks to check that baby's weight. Are they not now longer feeding in a newborn clothes? And now are they 0 to 3 month clothes?
One of the things to listen for while baby is breastfeeding is audible swallowing. So you should hear baby swallowing lots of breast milk, and also the latch should be pain-free. So it should be very comfortable for mom. You can look for plenty of wet and dirty diapers in 24 hours, and baby can have frequent weight checks, and often that shows that baby is gaining enough weight.
Many new moms wonder if their baby is getting enough milk. One way you can tell is if you see and hear your baby sucking and swallowing milk once your mature milk comes in. You may see her ears or jaw moving.
Hungry little girl.
Also, notice how you both feel after a feeding. Your breasts should feel lighter and softer, and your baby should seem content and satisfied, not fussy or showing hunger cues. A baby who is getting enough milk should also have several periods of being awake and alert during the day. Another way you can tell if your baby is getting enough breast milk is by keeping an eye on how many wet and dirty diapers they have each day. A breastfed baby's first stools, called meconium, will be black and sticky. From day 3 to 4, her stool will change to a greenish-brown color. Then from day 5 to 6, they will be yellow with a loose, seedy texture. By day 5, a breastfed baby should have at least 6 wet diapers and 4 stools every day. It's common for breastfed babies to have a bowel movement after each feeding in the first few weeks. After this, a breastfed baby may have fewer stools. It helps to use a feeding and diaper log to track her feedings and diapers. You can use a digital log or track feedings and diapers on paper. Finally, your baby is probably getting enough milk if you feed her about 8 to 12 times every 24 hours.
We'll go ahead and weigh her before and after the feeding, and that'll tell us.
If you're concerned your baby isn't getting enough milk, have her weighed. In the first day after birth, it's normal for babies to lose a little weight. By 10 to 14 days after birth, your baby should be back to her birth weight. After that, the average baby gains about 5 to 7 ounces every week until the end of the 2nd or 3rd month.
So she's gaining really quickly now. It's nice that they'll gain a half an ounce to an ounce a day.
Call your baby's healthcare provider if she seems very sleepy and needs to be awakened to feed, or sleeps through the night, does not have at least 4 yellow stools per day by day 4, or 5 wet diapers per day by day 5, has a reddish-orange stain in her diaper, which is a sign of dehydration. If her stools suddenly change, she's not gaining weight. She acts hungry after feeding or has short feedings. Your breasts aren't fuller or firmer by day 5. Her skin or eyes become yellow, which is a sign of jaundice, or she breastfeeds fewer than 8 times in 24 hours. Contact a lactation consultant or your baby's healthcare provider if you are concerned that your baby isn't getting enough to eat, and before you think about giving her formula.
Is it okay if it's sporadic, like sometimes it's 20 minutes and then other times it's like 45 minutes?
Those sound like normal
It's
time
okay.
frames for a baby to eat, yeah.
When a baby gets formula, even in small amounts, it reduces the time spent breastfeeding, which can affect your milk production. Most breastfeeding issues can be solved quickly when caught early on.
This is a great picture of what the baby's stool changed to. So when the baby's first born, it's that meconium. It's very tar and sticky. It starts to develop when the baby's in your belly at around 20 weeks. And the colostrum that you give the baby at the first feeding is really good of laxative. It pushes that tarry stool out. Then it turns to like this brownish, and then if you're exclusively breastfeeding, it turns to this yellow, seedy kind of thing. There'll be copious amount. There'll be a lot of poop, but that's good because what goes in must come out, and that's very important. Again, we talked about the little bit of making sure you go to your well baby checkups. We want to make sure that the baby doesn't lose more than 10% of the birth weight in that first week. We want to make sure that the baby's back up to birth weight by day 14, so when it's 2 weeks old. And then after 5 days, the baby should gain between 5 and 7 ounces every week. certain times when you need to call either the lactation consultant, me at the Peak Vista Women's Clinic, or your pediatrician. If the baby's not latching well, not feeling well, very gassy, you have to wake them for every feeding, have less than 4 yellowy stools by day 4 or less than 5 wet diapers by day 4. If the baby stool pattern changes and it's not loose stool or smooth, soft stool. If the baby looks yellow, if a family member comes in and says, boy, the baby looks yellow, that's a reason to call the pediatrician. And not eating at least the 8 times in 24 hours. Now you need to take care of your breast. This is your baby's food supply. So 2 to 3 days after birth, your breasts become fuller and firmer. That's when your milk starts to come in. Your body's starting to make that mature milk that we talked about. This could last for a few days. Feed often to manage the fullness and prevent engorgement. If you find that you cannot latch the baby on during this time, you can always hand express or use a hand pump or an electric breast pump to help pull off some of that breast milk so then the baby is able to latch. The baby is the best source to drain your breast.
Within about 72 hours after birth, it's natural for your breasts to feel fuller, heavier, and more tender. This is a sign that your first milk, called colostrum, which is made in perfect smaller amounts for a newborn baby, is changing into more plentiful mature milk.
My milk came in the night we came home from the hospital. It seemed pretty obvious, I think, when it came in. She seemed to eat a little bit differently. She was more enthusiastic about it.
Breast fullness is normal and only lasts for a day or 2. To manage breast fullness, feed your baby often and offer both breasts at each feeding. Make sure she is taking in milk and you can see and hear her sucking and swallowing. You can also gently massage and compress your breast to help move the milk into her mouth. If your breasts are too full for your baby to latch onto before a feeding, or still uncomfortably full after a feeding, you can express your milk by hand or pump a little to relieve the pressure. Capture your milk for later use in a clean container. You can also ask your lactation consultant about a technique called reverse pressure softening to loosen up the area around your nipple, making latch and breastfeeding easier in the early weeks.
Here's a video about how to hand express. Massage your breasts first. Place your fingers behind the areola, press against the chest wall, and then squeeze gently forward.
The following steps are one suggested way to hand express your milk.
Hello Miriam.
Hi.
My name is Nikki. I'm a lactation consultant and today we're going to go through hand expression.
Okay, thank you.
So Miriam, let's start with hand massaging of your breast, and that helps get your letdown going. The easiest way to massage the breast at the beginning is by doing small circles around the breast. So to hand express, Miriam, you would put your finger and your thumb on the sides of your areola, about 1 inch away from the nipple. That's it. And then you would compress into your chest wall without stretching the skin and bringing the fingers together.
When you squeeze, try not to pull or slide your fingers along your breast or nipple. Push back, compress your breast, and relax several times in this position.
In, compress, relax. Can you see how the flow is coming now? So not only are you increasing your production of milk, but you're creating a very soft base for your baby to latch onto.
Repeat compressions over and over in a rhythm. It may take a few minutes for you to release milk.
Would you like to try that on your other breast with the massage first?
Move back and forth between breasts often as your milk lets down and starts to flow. At the beginning, you may get less than a teaspoon. As your mature milk comes in, you will get more. You can catch the milk with a clean spoon, jar, or wide-mouth bowl and feed it to your baby. Hand expressing your milk after every feeding in the first few days can lead to a noticeable increase in milk supply for your baby. It's an age-old skill that is shared by women all over the world.
If you do become engorged, or if you decide you do not want to breastfeed, here's examples of what you can do. This example is about a breastfeeding mom. So you can use some warm, moist heat and gently massage and then express the breast milk in the ways that we mentioned before. Hand expression, hand pump, or electric breast pump. You can use then after feedings ice, because this decreases the swelling that is around the ducts in the breast, and express until the pressure is relieved. You might need to do some nipple care. Okay, first thing and foremost is check that baby's latch. Look at your nipple when the baby is no longer on the breast to make sure it doesn't look pinched like a football or like lipstick, and it's nice and an erect nipple. Make sure when you break the baby's suck that you put your finger to the side of the baby's mouth and break the seal and then detach the baby. Try not to use any harsh soaps or nipple creams. Change the wet breast pads, so if you have a breast pad on, make sure they're dry. Wash your hands before you feed, and then contact me if you have any concerns, or a lactation consultant, about how your nipples are. You can use lanolin, you can use express breast milk. There's also these gel pads that you can use to help with yours, but the most important thing is getting that latch correct.
In the first few days, you may feel some nipple tenderness when your baby latches on, but breastfeeding should not be painful. If you feel discomfort longer than 30 to 60 seconds, gently break the suction and try a new latch or a different position. Check that your baby has a deep latch and is taking in milk. Get help if the pain doesn't go away or if your nipples look damaged. Get help right away so you and your baby can have a long and successful breastfeeding experience.
The biggest thing that mom can do to take care of her nipples is to ensure a deep latch. If it feels painful at all during the feeding, mom should break suction and try to get a deeper latch.
This is an example of different kinds of nipples. So the one is a nice protruding nipple. Another one is called an inverted nipple, or if you compress your breast, your nipple disappears into the breast tissue. And the other one is a flat nipple. All these examples, with some technique, you can feed your baby. You need to call the doctor or the lactation consultant if you have not had full firm breasts by day 5. Now, some women, because of a disease process, or if they've had hypertension during pregnancy or have had a C-section, it might delay your milk coming into maybe day 7. If you can't get that engorgement that you're coming through relieved in about 24 hours by what we talked about, the warm heat, the massage, the cold ice packs after feeding. If you become like flu-like symptoms, achy, have a fever, that's very important to call your OB provider. Ongoing nipple or breast pain, an open sore on your nipple that's not healing, like you've tried the lanolin, you've adjusted the latch, and you're still having that open sore. And concerns about your breast milk production. If you're feeling you're not making the goals that the baby needs with the diapers, with the growth at your pediatrician's office. Now, breastfeeding is a lifestyle. There are certain things that you have to adjust if you want to continue to breastfeed throughout the course, whatever your goal is in your baby's goal. So the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that you only breastfeed for the first 6 months. 6 to 12 months, you do breastfeeds and you start introducing solids. And then 12 months, you can breastfeed for as long as you're wanting to, or the baby, you're feeling comfortable for the baby. There's a video here that talks about taking care of yourself. It's really important to rest when you can, especially in the first couple weeks. When the baby sleeps, you should be resting. This is not a time to clean your house or do your dishes. If the baby's resting, you need to rest. You grew a baby and you're making milk for a baby. Accept help from family and friends. Limit your activity and visitors. Drink lots of water. Eat nutritious meals, 3 meals and snacks. Get exercise and fresh air. Walking is the best medicine. Let friends and family help, and find breastfeeding support group.
I think that's the great thing about breastfeeding and nursing is that you're, reminded just from the baby, like I gotta make sure I'm eating the right foods. I have to make sure that I'm drinking enough water. And so they help you self-care.
As you adjust to your new life, remember to care for yourself so you can care for your baby. Try to eat healthy foods that are good for both you and your baby. And drink plenty of water and other healthy beverages. Sleep when you can, even during the day when your baby is sleeping. Housework and visitors are less important than getting a good amount of sleep. Remember that what you put in your body could affect your milk and be passed to your baby. Ask your healthcare provider or lactation consultant for the latest information on how medicine, smoking, marijuana, and alcohol can affect breastfeeding babies. For many new moms, breastfeeding support groups are a great way to share information, make new friends, and help solve any breastfeeding issues.
This is what I have done today. I have fed her 7 times. I have changed 5 diapers. Wow, I have done a lot today. It's totally different, and that's a good thing because you're sustaining a whole other human being.
The group leader can help with questions or refer you to professionals who can. Look for a group through your hospital, public health department, or local Latch league. Mom-to-mom groups or peer counseling sessions are also available in many communities. You can look online to see what's near you.
Mothers are more likely to be successful in their breastfeeding goals if they have partners and families that show support. Help a mom breastfeed comfortably. Bring her a pillow or a footrest. Stay positive. Suggest getting help if needed. Care and hold for the baby and do the skin to skin while mom takes a nice shower or takes a nap. Help mom feel comfortable feeding outside the home. Again, here is a video that talks more about how you can find support.
Along with time and patience, all new mothers need emotional support from their partners and families while they learn the art of breastfeeding.
All done. There you go, all nice and clean.
Sugar pea.
Partner support is critical to breastfeeding success.
Breastfeeding is really great for our baby because it's a natural way for her to get all the nutrients and food that she needs. And really, I think that's the best thing for her.
Studies have shown that mothers are more likely to succeed at breastfeeding when their partners show their support. Partners, your attitude about breastfeeding directly affects mom's success. Reassure her that she can do it, especially during the early weeks. Help her get comfortable when it's time to breastfeed, and suggest professional help when needed.
When I was breastfeeding, Dan would get me a little snack and a glass of water. And even in the middle of the night, he would come and I would go and nurse in the nursery, and he would just come and lay on the floor. And so even though he was asleep, it felt good to know that I wasn't all alone in there.
Breastfeeding may take some time to master, but mom and baby's health is worth it. Connect with your baby in other ways, like holding her skin to skin, massaging her, and helping with all of the other parts of having a newborn. Partners, friends, and family can also show support when it comes time to breastfeed outside of the home. It's easy once you get used to it. just find a comfortable place to sit down and nourish your baby. You can cover up if it makes you feel more comfortable. Every state protects your right to breastfeed in public.
One of the big questions I always have is, can I have a glass of wine? Can I drink beer? Well, no, not all medications are safe for breastfeeding. So you need to make sure any doctor that prescribes you medication, even over-the-counter medications, that you look into if it's correct for breastfeeding. You can limit to small occasional drink. Quit or limit smoking to avoid cigarette smoke. The nicotine and the substances in cigarette smoke do go into the breast milk. Marijuana is not considered safe for a baby. It can pass into your breast milk. Marijuana tends to go to fat. That's where it has an affinity, where it wants to go. And your breast milk has a lot of fat because it's growing the baby. So the marijuana will go to that fat and thus go to the baby. Do not use illegal drugs or abuse prescriptions, medications, and limit caffeine. Limit what you're eating too. If you notice that you had a big Mexican meal and then that night the baby's fussy, that could be the cause of it. If you notice that you had more caffeine than you normally had and you notice that the baby's just not wanting to take a nap like they usually do, it could be because of the caffeine consumption. So remember, what you ingest goes through your breast milk into the baby. Most of us have to return to work, so it's important to make sure you know the legal rights you have. Your work should provide you with a place that you can pump with a sign, and it allows you privacy. You can work part-time if you have to. You can start pumping and storing milk before you're going back to work. And in a couple slides we'll show you where and how to store your milk. There's a video here that says returning to work.
Well, that works just fine. All right, well, I'll talk to you soon.
You can keep giving your baby your nutritious milk even after returning to work. Talk with your employer about a good time and place to pump at work. Point out that federal law requires that most employers give time and space for mothers to breastfeed or express while at work. Talk to a lactation professional about how to store your milk, which pump and supplies are best for you, and how to plan for your return to work.
It's hard to transition from working to pumping sometimes, and sometimes it's difficult to let down. So having a picture of your baby or your baby's blanket, even just listening to soothing music may help you respond better to the pump.
Also, ask your insurance if they cover breastfeeding services or supplies. Imagine the reward of reconnecting with your baby after a hectic day at work and knowing that your pumping efforts are nourishing your baby for a lifetime of better health.
Yeah. There you go, looking at mama.
You can hand express while you're at work if that is convenient for you. You can do a personal electric pump, a hospital grade pump, or you can have a hand pump. The hand pump is what, if you qualify for WIC, is what is given. Here's an example of storing your breast milk, and this also comes along with a video. You can have it at room temperature for 3 to 4 hours and keep it covered so no contaminants get in it. It can be in the refrigerator for up to 4 days and stored in the back of the refrigerator, not on the door. There's the temperature changes on their door when people open and close the door. And then you can freeze it up to 6 months, stored in the back of an upright freezer or in a chest freezer.
Handling your milk appropriately will preserve the quality and safety of the milk. Practice good hygiene by first washing your hands. To keep your milk fresh and safe from harmful bacteria, there are different ways you can store it. Ask your baby's healthcare provider about breast milk storage guidelines. If you're at work or out and about, your pumped milk can be stored temporarily in an insulated cooler with frozen gel packs until you can put it in the refrigerator, freezer, or give it to your baby. Store your milk in clean glass or plastic bottles that don't contain the chemical BPA. Or you can use storage bags that are designed especially for breast milk. It's helpful to store milk in 2 to 4 ounce serving sizes. Label each bag or bottle with the date you expressed the milk. Breast milk should be refrigerated in the coldest part of the refrigerator, not the door. Also, it can stay in a refrigerator freezer that's 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Place it in the back of the freezer compartment. Do not place it in the freezer door compartment as the temperature fluctuates when the door is opened. There are also guidelines for storing thawed milk. Use your oldest frozen milk first. It can be thawed or warmed by holding the bottle under hot tap water or placing it in a bowl of hot water or pan of hot water that has been removed from the burner. Do not warm breast milk over direct heat or use a microwave to warm it, as it can create hot spots in the milk that could burn your baby's mouth. Overheating breast milk also destroys some of its immune benefits. Gently swirl the bottle and test the temperature of the milk on the inside of your forearm before giving it to your baby. Never thaw and then refreeze breast milk. Also, always discard any milk left in the bottle after the feeding.
There's multiple places that you can use the internet to find help. You can also come to me at Peak Vista Women's Clinic. You can talk to your healthcare provider. There's postpartum doulas. There's breastfeeding support groups. There's WIC. There's public health nurses. Just to let you know, you can do this. Whatever your goal is, Peak Vista is here to help support you. If you have any questions, please submit the questions, and I will get those questions, and I will be more than happy to answer them. Again, my name is Donna. I'm a lactation consultant at Peak Vista Women's Clinic, and our number is 719-632-5700.